Hello, my friends. This is David Mitchell. I'm a doctor here in the US who has spent more than 30 years working with older adults. I'm 60 myself, so I know firsthand what it feels like to be walking alongside you, whether you're in your 50s, 60s, or even 70s. Most days you'll find me right here in front of this camera sharing real stories from my clinic. Because to me, health isn't only about pills or procedures, it's about the daily choices we make, the little reflections that help us live more fully. And today we're diving into a topic that may surprise you, grinning these vegetables seniors should avoid to prevent stroke and heart attack. Yes, vegetables, the very food group we all think of as our best friend for health. But sometimes if we're not careful, they can quietly turn into our enemy. Picture this, it's a cozy evening. You're gathered around the dinner table with family, fresh vegetables, beautifully laid out, laughter filling the room. But have you ever paused and asked yourself, are these vegetables really safe for my heart? I remember one of my patients, Mary, 68 years old, full of life and a wonderful cook. She loved using pickles and canned veggies because they saved her time. She thought they're vegetables, so they must be healthy. Until one day her blood pressure shot up and her doctor warned her of a stroke waiting to happen. She looked at me and said, Dr. David, how could vegetables betray me like this? And I had to explain, not every vegetable is friendly to us. Seniors, especially when we're already living with companions like high blood pressure or diabetes. You see, after decades of practice, I've realized diet is the foundation of heart health at our age. The science is simple. Your heart is like an older machine. It needs careful maintenance. Fresh vegetables are wonderful, packed with fiber, vitamins. They lower cholesterol and help keep blood pressure steady. But the risk often lies in the way we prepare them or in certain hidden dangers. Fried veggies, salty pickles, or over-processed ones, they load your body with sodium, strain your arteries, and can trigger heart attacks. I'll never forget John, a 72-year-old veteran who nearly lost his life after years of casual habits, like eating French fries every week. After his surgery, he told me, David, if I had only known earlier, I would have boiled them instead of frying. Have you ever felt the same way, that tiny choices could have saved you from big regrets? And that's exactly why I'm here today, to share with you from the heart that not all vegetables are safe for seniors. Together, we'll explore the ones you should avoid or limit, from sodium-packed pickles to deep-fried dishes, and the science behind why they can increase your risk of stroke or heart attack. Think of this not as a lecture, but as a friendly conversation. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to give you the knowledge to stay strong and enjoy life with your family. Because at our age, health isn't just about living longer, it's about living better. So are you ready? Let's get started. Part 1. Why some vegetables can actually harm seniors. Have you ever asked yourself, how could something as natural as vegetables possibly be harmful to my health? I hear this question all the time from my patients. And honestly, I understand, because I used to believe that vegetables were always safe and healthy too. But after more than 30 years working with seniors, I've learned something important. Health is not just about the name of the food. It's about how it's prepared, the condition of your body, and the medical issues you may already have. Let me share a little story. One of my patients, Robert, a 72-year-old man, came to see me after a sudden spike in his blood pressure. He said, Doctor, I don't eat salty foods. I only enjoy pickled cucumbers. Every day they make my meals taste better. But here's the truth, that harmless-looking jar of pickles was packed with sodium. And that sodium pushed his blood pressure up, strained his arteries, and forced his heart to work overtime. Just a little bit of bad luck, and Robert could have had a stroke right there at home. That's exactly why seniors need to look at vegetables with a more careful eye. Some of them, especially when they're processed, pickled, canned, deep-fried, turn from being healthy into a burden on the body. And remember, your heart and brain after 60 or 70 years are far more sensitive than they were when you were younger. Just a little extra salt, bad fat, or sugar can be the drop that overflows the bucket, leading to a heart attack or a stroke. Think of your heart as a pump that's been working nonstop for decades. Anything that makes it work, heart or high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high blood sugar, is like piling extra weight on a machine that's already worn down. And those so-called healthy vegetables that are actually loaded with salt, oil, or sugar, they become that extra weight. Many people also assume that if vegetables aren't fried or salty, they're always safe. But there's another side to the story: interactions with medication. Take vitamin K, for example. Leafy greens like kale and spinach are excellent foods for most people. But if you're on blood thinners like warfarin, too much vitamin K can interfere with the medication. That means the drug may not prevent clots as it should, and that's one of the top causes of stroke. So you see, the problem isn't the vegetable itself, it's whether it fits your body, your health conditions, and your medications. What's healthy for one person might actually be dangerous for another. And seniors, because of age, chronic conditions, and daily medications, are especially vulnerable. I want you to start asking yourself, what vegetables am I eating every day? Where do they come from? How are they prepared? These are not small questions. They could be the very key to avoiding a sudden heart attack. One of my patients once told me, "Doctor, I never thought French fries could be dangerous. I just thought it's still potatoes, and potatoes are vegetables, so they must be fine." But when you drown that potato in oil and sprinkle on salt, it's no longer the same food. It becomes a bomb of cholesterol and sodium building up silently in your arteries. And then one day when the artery narrows just a little more, that's when stroke comes knocking without warning. Now, I know this might sound heavy, but trust me, I'm not sharing this to scare you. I'm sharing it to give you power, the power of understanding. Once you know why certain vegetables can harm you, you won't eat on autopilot anymore. You'll pause before reaching for that jar of pickles. You'll choose steaming instead of frying, and you'll be able to recognize which foods are quietly working against your health. Because at the end of the day, your health, your heart, and your brain deserves to be protected with smart choices. And believe me, these small daily choices can make the difference between living free and strong or facing a sudden heart attack or stroke. Part 2. Specific vegetables to avoid or limit. Now let's go deeper. I know many of you are wondering, so which vegetables should I actually be careful with? What exactly should I avoid to protect my heart and brain? That's the most practical question. And honestly, it's the one that keeps me up at night when I see my senior patients unknowingly eating foods that look harmless but carry hidden risks. First, processed vegetables high in sodium. When we talk about the risk of stroke and heart attack in seniors, there's a silent enemy that often slips under the radar: salt. And I don't just mean the salt you sprinkle on your food, but the hidden sodium packed into processed vegetables, pickles, sauerkraut, canned corn, canned beans. They're familiar, convenient, sometimes even comforting. But for seniors, they can be ticking time bombs for the heart and blood vessels. I'll never forget Susan, age 71. She came to see me with chronically high blood pressure. When I asked about her diet, she smiled and said, "Doctor, I don't eat salty food. Just a little pickled cucumber. At lunch, it's been my favorite since childhood." But in reality, that little jar of pickles can contain an entire day's worth of sodium. And that extra sodium forces the heart to pump harder, tightens blood vessels like overstretched strings, and drives up the risk of stroke. The tough part is this: many seniors assume that if it's a vegetable, it must be healthy. But I want you to picture sodium like tiny grains of sand falling into a glass jar, your blood pressure. A few grains are not a problem. But day after day, year after year, the jar fills up. And when it spills over, the result is often a sudden heart attack or stroke. No warning, no time to prepare. And it's not just pickles. Canned vegetables are culprits too. Take Thomas, is 69, who lives alone and values convenience. He regularly bought canned corn and beans, thinking he was making a healthy choice. "It's still vegetables, right, doctor?" he said. But on every label, the sodium and preservatives were sky high. Those so-called healthy cans were quietly pushing his blood pressure and cholesterol out of control, edging him closer to a stroke. You see, the problem isn't the vegetables themselves, it's how they're preserved and processed. To keep them from spoiling, manufacturers load them with salt. And seniors whose hearts and vessels are already more fragile are the ones who suffer most from this sodium overload. So I want you to pause for a moment and ask yourself, this week, how many times did I eat pickles, canned vegetables, or other processed foods? The answer might surprise you. What's the solution? First, get into the habit of reading food labels. If you must buy canned vegetables, look for ones marked low sodium or no salt added. It's a small step, but it makes a big difference for your heart. Second, go back to fresh or unsalted frozen vegetables. Steamed, boiled, or added into soups, fresh veggies not only preserve vitamins and minerals, but also give you full control over salt in your meals. Trust me, after just a few weeks of cutting back on processed foods, you'll notice steadier blood pressure, better sleep, and a heart that feels lighter. I want you to remember one simple truth. Every extra spoon of salt today could cost you a heartbeat tomorrow. But every smart choice, every low-sodium meal is a gift you're giving your brain and heart, allowing them to stay strong and steady for many more years without being interrupted by a sudden stroke or heart attack. Second, be careful with fried vegetables loaded with unhealthy fats. There's one eating habit I often see in many seniors: frying vegetables. On the surface, it sounds harmless. After all, it's still vegetables, right? But in reality, it hides serious risks for your heart and brain. Think about French fries, golden, crispy, irresistible. Then sweet potato, fries, onion rings, even deep-fried cauliflower or eggplant. These foods often carry memories of youth family dinners or fun moments with grandchildren. But here's the truth: just a small serving of fries can pack enough saturated fat and trans fat to raise your bad cholesterol, speeding up the hardening of your arteries. I remember my patient James, 66. He used to say, "Doctor, I don't eat fatty meats, I just love my fries." But his blood work told a different story: high cholesterol, unstable blood pressure. After looking closer, we found the real culprit: his nightly habit of eating fried vegetables. You see, when oil is heated to high temperatures, it turns into harmful compounds that silently damage blood vessel walls and trigger inflammation inside the body. What makes this dangerous is that it happens slowly over years. You still feel fine, still walk every morning, still enjoy your meals. But inside, your heart and brain are quietly weakening. And one day, all it takes is a tiny blood clot or a blocked artery, and suddenly a stroke or heart attack strikes without warning. So what's the solution? It's not about giving up your favorite foods entirely, but about changing the way you cook them. Instead of deep frying, try baking, steaming, or lightly sautéing with a little olive oil. For example, roasted potatoes with herbs taste delicious. Keep the fiber and vitamins, and don't overload your heart. Even roasted onions stay sweet and tasty without raising cholesterol. I want you to remember this: vegetables are nature's gift. But once they're dunked in hot oil, that gift turns into a burden for your heart. Give yourself the chance to enjoy the natural, healthy flavor of vegetables, so you keep the taste, but also protect your health, staying far away from stroke and heart attack. Next, I want to bring up a group of vegetables that most people never really think about: the ones high in oxalates. You've probably heard the saying, "You can never go wrong with vegetables." And in many ways, that's true. Veggies are packed with vitamins, minerals, and fiber, all of which are essential for a strong heart and brain. But as I often tell my patients, nothing is 100% safe if we don't use it the right way. Take oxalate-rich vegetables, for example, like spinach, beets, or Swiss chard. For many, these are considered superfoods because they're loaded with iron, folate, and antioxidants. But for seniors, especially those with kidney disease, diabetes, or heart issues, these foods can actually carry a hidden downside. Here's why: once oxalates enter your body, they bind with calcium and form tiny crystals known as oxalate stones. I once treated a gentleman named Harold, 68 years old, who loved his daily spinach smoothies. A few years later, he developed painful kidney stones and chronic back pain. His test results showed very high oxalate levels. He asked me, surprised, "Doctor, I thought vegetables were supposed to be healthy. How did I end up sick?" And that's the truth. Most people don't realize eating too many high oxalate foods can actually harm you. It gets even more concerning. Oxalates can indirectly affect heart health too. When calcium in your blood gets trapped by oxalates, your bones weaken, while your arteries are more likely to develop deposits and harden. Over time, that process increases the risk of stroke and heart attack in older adults. Think of your body like a garden. If the garden gets filled with little rocks, those oxalates, the water streams or blood flow can't move smoothly anymore. They get blocked, the soil dries out, and plants struggle to survive. For the body, that means weaker kidneys, a tired heart, and fragile blood vessels. Now, here's the good news. You don't need to cut out these vegetables completely. The key is balance. You can still enjoy spinach or beets, but boil or steam them first and toss away the cooking water, since oxalates dissolve in water. Mix them with lower oxalate veggies like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, or pumpkin. And most importantly, stay well hydrated so your body can flush those oxalates out. What I really want you to remember is this: smart eating is better than extreme eating. Just because something is labeled as superfood doesn't mean more is always better. After 60, your body changes a lot. and every choice you make at the dinner table directly impacts your heart and your brain. Fourth, another group is vegetables cooked with added sugar. When I was a child, I remember every time I visited my grandmother in the countryside, she would make sweet glazed sweet potatoes for the whole family. That warm, sweet aroma still brings back memories of family gatherings. In fact, many sugar-coated vegetable dishes, like candied sweet potatoes, honey-glazed carrots, or fruit soaked in syrup, are tied to family traditions and comfort food. But once we reach our 60s, our bodies don't work the same way they did in our 20s. That harmless added sugar can quickly become a burden. I once treated a patient, Mrs. Elaine, 72 years old. She loved eating sweet glazed sweet potatoes every morning, thinking it was good for digestion. But after years of this habit, she gained weight, her blood sugar climbed, and one day she ended up in the hospital with a mild heart attack. When we checked, excess sugar in her diet turned out to be a key factor speeding up her heart problems. Why does this happen? It's simple. When we add sugar to vegetables, the glycemic index, GI, shoots up, spiking blood sugar quickly. For seniors, the pancreas doesn't work as efficiently, and insulin isn't as responsive as before. This raises the risk of type 2 diabetes, obesity, and heart disease, all major drivers of stroke and heart attack. On top of that, extra sugar in the blood acts like sticky glue clinging to blood vessel walls. Over time, this causes inflammation, plaque buildup, and fragile arteries. I often tell my patients, imagine the water pipes in your house coated with sticky syrup. One day the flow will get blocked. And in your body, that's when your heart and brain start crying out for help. So what should we do? First, cut back on sugar-coated or syrupy vegetables. If you enjoy sweetness, rely on the natural sugars already inside vegetables, like boiled sweet potatoes, steamed carrots, or roasted beets. They taste great and provide fiber that helps keep blood sugar stable. Another tip, instead of white sugar, try spices like cinnamon, ginger, or vanilla for a naturally sweet, fragrant flavor. In fact, studies show cinnamon may even improve insulin sensitivity and lower post-meal blood sugar. The most important message I want to leave you with is this: love your body by choosing natural foods. Vegetables are already amazing. They don't need added sugar to be nutritious. Sometimes the sweetest thing isn't in the food itself, but in staying healthy long enough to keep enjoying precious moments with your children and grandchildren. Group 5, charred or high-temperature roasted vegetables. Have you ever sat by a charcoal grill and smelled that irresistible aroma of roasted corn, onions, or sweet potatoes? For many of us, it's part of childhood memories, a flavor that feels special. But as a doctor, I need to point out that delicious smoky smell sometimes comes with hidden risks for your heart and brain. When vegetables are roasted or charred at very high temperatures, especially when you see that blackened layer, it's not just a little extra flavor. That process creates harmful compounds like acrylamide and free radicals, which research has shown can inflame blood vessels and increase the risk of stroke and heart attack in seniors. I once had a patient, Margaret, age 72. She told me she ate charcoal roasted potatoes almost every week just for variety. Over time, she developed high blood pressure and unstable cholesterol. When I explained that her favorite roasted foods were actually contributing to the problem, she was shocked. I thought potatoes were healthy. I never imagined they could hurt my heart. The concern doesn't stop there. High heat destroys many nutrients in vegetables. Vitamin C, for example, a powerful antioxidant, almost disappears after long exposure to fire. What's left is often just charred black crust carrying toxins. And think about it, your blood vessels are the ones paying the price year after year. I often tell patients, your blood vessels are like highways. If they're constantly exposed to smoke dust and corrosion, they break down faster. Charred vegetables do the same. They add another layer of damage inside those vessels, making them stiff and weak. One day it's your heart or brain that suffers. Now, this doesn't mean you must give up grilled foods completely. I understand it feels like something's missing if you can't enjoy roasted corn on a chilly afternoon. But there are safer ways. Roast at moderate heat, avoid burning, or use an electric oven that controls the temperature. And most importantly, balance it with healthier cooking methods like steaming, boiling, or lightly stir-frying with heart-friendly oils. Remember this, the way you cook your food can shape the health of your blood vessels. Sometimes just changing one small habit lowers your risk of stroke and heart attack dramatically. And that might be the greatest gift you can give yourself and the people who love you. Finally, group 6 is starchy vegetables that are high in refined starch. There's a common misunderstanding among many seniors. People often think that all vegetables are completely safe. But have you ever wondered, why do I keep gaining weight, my blood sugar stays high, and my heart feels weaker, even though I eat a lot of potatoes, corn, or sweet potatoes? The answer is simple. Not all vegetables are created equal. Some vegetables, especially those high in refined starch like French fries, processed corn, or cassava, quickly break down into sugar once they enter your body. That sugar rushes straight into your bloodstream, spiking your blood sugar, then dropping it suddenly. That's why after a starchy meal, you may feel tired, sleepy, or even weak in your arms and legs. The real danger is when this cycle repeats over and over. It raises your risk of diabetes, high blood pressure, stroke, and heart attack. I once had a patient, Martha, 72 years old. She loved canned sweet corn and mashed potatoes with lots of butter. Martha truly believed in its vegetables, so it must be healthy. But her tests showed prediabetes and high cholesterol. When I explained the real cause, she was shocked. I never imagined vegetables could hurt my heart. What's even more concerning is that as we age, our bodies become less sensitive to insulin. So when seniors eat too many refined starches, the pancreas has to work overtime to produce insulin, leading to metabolic dysfunction. This is the foundation of type 2 diabetes, a direct risk factor for stroke and heart attack. Think of your blood vessels like city roads. When blood sugar is too high, it's like sending heavy trucks over those roads day after day. They crack, form potholes, and wear out. In your body, those potholes are the damaged artery walls where plaque builds up and blocks blood flow. The solution isn't to eliminate starchy vegetables completely, but to eat them wisely. If you eat potatoes, eat them whole, baked, or steamed rather than mashed or fried. If you eat corn, choose fresh corn instead of canned corn loaded with sugar and salt. And most importantly, balance them with low-starch vegetables like broccoli, spinach, or fresh cucumber. Remember this, not every vegetable is your heart's best friend. Some, if cooked the wrong way or eaten in excess, can become hidden enemies. By making smarter choices, you give yourself the chance to live longer, stay stronger, and significantly reduce your risk of stroke and heart attack. Part 3. Practical advice. No. After we've talked about all those vegetables that can quietly raise your risk of stroke and heart attack, I want to pause for a moment and share something even more important with you, how to actually stay safe and healthy. I always tell my patients, knowledge only matters when it turns into action. You can listen to me list all the foods to avoid, but without clear direction, it's easy to end up confused or even discouraged. That's why I want to give you some of the most practical advice I've learned from working with older adults for over 30 years. First, remember this, every body is different. If you're living with high blood pressure, diabetes, or heart disease, you should always check with your doctor or a nutrition expert before making big changes to your diet. I once had a patient in his late 60s who suddenly changed his diet based on a friend's advice, and his blood pressure spiked dangerously. Sometimes just one wrong choice can cost you your health. Second, pay attention to how you cook your food. I know many of us love fried or pickled dishes. They're tasty and convenient, but the extra salt and fat quietly damage your heart. I often suggest steaming, boiling, or baking instead. With just a simple change in cooking methods, your meals can still be delicious while being much gentler on your heart. Another thing that's often overlooked, portion control. Even healthy vegetables can become a burden if you eat too much. I sometimes ask my patients, do you want to feel full for a moment, or do you want to live longer to enjoy more years with your family? That question usually makes them pause and think differently. A smart choice is to go for fresh or frozen vegetables without added salt or preservatives. Don't let those packaged, processed veggies fool you. They often hide sodium and chemicals that stress your body. Give your heart the freshness it deserves from nature's real gifts. And finally, don't forget, nutrition is just one piece of the health puzzle. To truly protect yourself from stroke and heart attack, combine good food with gentle movement, a walk in the park, a few stretches, or morning yoga, and make sure you keep up with regular health checkups. Living healthy isn't about changing everything overnight. It's a journey, one small but steady step at a time. And I'm here to walk that journey with you. My friend, as we wrap up the message, it is clear to protect your heart and brain. Seniors need to stay away from vegetables that are loaded with sodium, deep fried in oil, coated in sugar, or charred on the grill. These may look harmless, but they quietly fuel high blood pressure, diabetes, and eventually raise the risk of stroke and heart attack. I always tell my patients good health doesn't come from one big change overnight. It comes from the small choices you make every single day. Choosing a plate of fresh veggies instead of canned ones, steaming instead of frying, or simply keeping your portions under control, these little steps add up and make all the difference. The small adjustments you make today can build a healthier tomorrow. Remember this, your heart and your brain deserve the best care starting right in your kitchen. And if you found this message helpful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and don't forget to ring the little bell. That way, every time I release a new video on preventing stroke and heart attack, you'll be the first to know. And please don't keep this to yourself. Share it with your loved ones so together we can spread the habit of healthy living. Your health is the most precious gift you have. Start with the little things on your plate each day. I'll see you in the next video, and may every heartbeat of yours stay safe and strong.